Welcome everybody to this week's Mastermind meeting. Our topic is horizontal integration. We got a free one, so we got a big group today, and we got some really cool people joining us. We got some industry experts, some guest speakers, and we got people who I didn't even know were coming that have a lot to share on this topic. So I'm super excited. Topic today is horizontal integration. So that's add-on services, that's diversifying your services, upsells, downsells, money models, stuff like that. In this industry, we have a lot of people who do horizontal integration in simple ways, including myself with stuff like power washing, right? With our equipment, it's so easy to go and buy a surface washer and add driveways to your service. There's also people who are unique, who do different things. Cade's going to be our main speaker today. Cade Schulz is with the Can Man, and him and his brother have successfully integrated pest control into their business. A little more unique. We got John Conway, who is absolutely the industry leader here. We're going to talk to him about his experience and his customers' experience with add-on services as well. John has a good plethora of diversification with his clients, which is awesome because they have so many different add-on services as well as different seasonality. For me and Cade being down here in Texas, we get to focus on trash bins year-round. For other companies, and you might be one of them, if you're up north, it might just be physically impossible to continue this service in the winter. So what do? Do you train? Do you take off? Or do you add services that have opposite seasonality? So we'll let John kind of take over that conversation as well. And we got some really cool people in here. Jason's another industry expert. Jeremy Thompson's our SEO and online marketing expert. He's here. So he's going to be able to help us out how to merge the brands together, even online, if we got questions at the end. So just a lot of plethora of knowledge in this room. Really excited. So let's get right into rolling. We're going to start with Cade Schulz. Cade owns the Can Man. He's up in the DFW area. I think me and Cade have been on the phone so much this last week. It's crazy, just talking and yapping. And I had the pleasure to go up and meet Cade in person last month. I spent the day with him. We got to know each other. Just a really cool dude, really great brand. I love what he's done. The Can Man is just a phenomenal brand. He's in a phenomenal area, and he's successfully merged pest control, him and his brother. So I'm going to give the floor to Cade. Cade, why don't you start us off, man? Tell us a little about yourself, about your brand, and just anything you want to kind of start with, brother.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you doing this, brother. This is really cool. I think something our industry definitely needs is some insight and higher level knowledge that you share on a weekly basis. So it's definitely a sacrifice that you're doing. So I think it's awesome that everyone's able to be a part of this. So yeah, man. So starting off with the Can Man and kind of how I got into it is where I'll start. So about 5 years ago now, COVID was coming to an end, especially in DFW. And I was working in home services, finishing up high school. So I was doing garage door service and repair. I was in the training academy for a much larger company that Chase here was actually a partner of. So that was my future plan: stay in home services and be able to grow into a business that was already fully scaled, multiple markets, and doing really well. So started going through training, and just like everybody, scrolling on TikTok, probably saw somebody cleaning trash cans, and that's where the whole idea started. So after that, did a ton of research on finding a manufacturer, somebody who builds the trucks. How do I get a truck? And so for me, Brandon was just up the street, about 3 hours away. So I got to go up and see him and see his builds. And that's where I was kind of sold on the industry, that there's an actual truck out there that can clean these. And so from there, building the business plan and kind of setting out to on this journey that didn't know what I was going to do. And so that's kind of where it all started. We started with 0 customers in January of 21, and just focused on the can cleaning and growing it every single day. I started in the truck day in and day out for the first couple years. So that's kind of how everything started out.
Nice, man. Cade, we could spend an hour just talking about, your startup, which is awesome. Let me direct some questions here for the good of the group, for your horizontal integration, because we talked this for a while. You and Chase, you guys see Chase is in as well. Chase is Cade's brother. 2 of y'all are your partners, right? You obviously work day to day, and because of their dynamic, they are able to add pest control. So why don't you tell us, when did it start becoming apparent that there were other opportunities to grow the business, not including trash bin cleaning? And then how did you and Chase decide pest control? How did that come to be about? And then how did you start that process to integrate those and add that as a service as well?
Totally. Yeah. So when I started, like I said, it was about a 2.5 year time before we ever went into pest control. So when I started, the big opportunity that everyone's seen is the driveway cleaning and the power washing. So that was something for me that we definitely did when I started. I would go and retarget our existing customers, upsell on there. So that was a huge benefit to being able to continue to grow the business. As you guys know, cleaning trash cans starting out is really, really tough with a small average ticket. So that was able to keep us afloat. But once we kind of surpassed that point where the recurring can cleaning was paying enough to just focus on that, that's when we jumped all in and just continued to only focus on the can cleaning. When I would go to customers' house, the biggest thing I always saw, and I don't know if anyone else has seen this, is customers obviously have tons of flies. That's why they're calling us. Their trash cans have maggots, flies, all of that. And so that's where it all began. People kept asking me, as their provider cleaning their trash cans, they would say, "Hey, who's a good company to use for pest control? Who can I use? Who do you trust that can do this?" And so I had a friend at the time, he's still a friend of mine, I talk to him all the time, who owns his own pest control company. And he had been around for a long while. It was his family's business that he kind of took over, one truck operation. And so after sending him 20, 30 customers, I was like, man, I'm sending a ton of business this guy's way. And it just worked out perfect to where Chase was stepping out of his garage door home service business and DFW. And we were kind of trying to figure out what was another vertical we could add on to a brand that was already there. At the time, I think we were at 1,600 or so repeat customers. And we saw the opportunity of, hey, you don't have anything that you're doing right now. You'd gotten out of this business. Pest control is a great vertical for can cleaning. We're already cleaning and at the source of their pests. And so we saw the opportunity. Pest control as a whole is a very, very tough industry to get into with no experience. If you have the licensing, then you can just go get your truck and go spray bugs. But with no experience at all, we had to go figure out the licensing process, in which we did. We actually found somebody who had been in the industry for 15 years that came on and ran that first truck and allowed us to have the licensing as a company. And so we were able to immediately just start growing. We tried the acquisition process for a pest control company, went through the SBA process there. Very tough process, as anyone would know if they've done an SBA. But when it comes down to it, if you're acquiring a business through the SBA loan, you have to have an equity holder with the licensing, which we're not willing to go and partner with somebody just to get a loan and to buy their business in pest control. So that's why we just greenfilled it and brought on a technician to really help us grow it. So that's kind of where the business started and for the pest control side.
That's awesome, man. The biggest takeaway I got from that, when we spoke first and hearing it again now, you said people come to you and they ask, who do you use? And what does that show? It shows that they trust you. That's what we're all trying to do. How do we reduce churn and create reputation and relationships? It's creating that trust. And that's what we do. Every time we service people the day we say we're going to, we leave an excellent product. We make our systems and processes easy. We make our company about the people and not the bins. We create trust. Cade has done an excellent job of creating trust. That's why he's grown so much. And that's why people come to you to then ask, who do you use? So that's awesome. The next question I got for you, Cade, and you kind of talked to me about this. A lot of people who go and diversify, their problem is they try to run two different businesses. They're attacking new customers in one business. They're attacking new customers in the other. Now you've kind of switched if I'm correct, you are primarily trying to get new trash bin cleaning customers on subscription. And then you're primarily focused on upselling those customers that trust you on the pest control and not so much on spending money organically to get customers on pest control that don't know who you are. Is that accurate? How does that kind of work about targeting for bin cleaning and then upselling to the bin cleaning customers?
Yeah, so that was something that we stumbled across. I mean, pest control for us has just been a huge blessing and an awesome opportunity. So when we first started, we spent some serious money on the pest control marketing space, the SEO piece, the PPC part of it, and any of these other trades, as people will see when they go into them. they're a lot more expensive to market. You're competing with hundreds of different companies. It's not like can cleaning where you might be competing with two. And on Facebook, you're just buying you're buying leads. And so that's where we immediately turn back to, let's just focus on continuing to drive all of our marketing efforts through the can cleaning side, where we can acquire customers at less than $50 on Facebook and Meta, and then just retarget them through doing an awesome job. And so then that's where we went back to the drawing board of, okay, now how do we just create our customer journey on the can cleaning side to be so freaking awesome that people are now like, okay, what about these other services that they provide? How does that work? Because if they can do cleaning my trash cans, which is such a simple process at such a high level, then hell yeah, I want to try them for other services. So that's been our main focus over the last 12 months, is just how do we create the can cleaning to be so awesome that people are now asking us, hey, how does that pest control work?
No, that's awesome.
Yeah. So
John, please.
It's pretty awesome what you're doing, Cade. I've kind of seen the flip. A lot of people that are in the pest control business want to get into the trash bin cleaning. I've sold probably 20 trucks or trailers to people already in the pest control business. So you're kind of doing the opposite. And obviously, there's a lot more competition in pest control than there is in can cleaning. So are you just primarily, if I heard you correctly, you're primarily just focusing on your existing clients and doing drip campaigns to them versus spending a lot of money and competing against maybe 20 other pest control companies? And if that's what you're doing, what kind of, I guess, penetration are you seeing? For every, let's say, 100 clients you reach out to, are you able, like what percentage are you getting back as far as an ROI?
Yeah, so this year has been a lot of focus on figuring out that process. And our goal for next year is 20% of our total customer base, which I think is very possible based off the numbers that we've seen since we started it. And the biggest opportunity is as those customers come in, the iron's still hot. So they're new to the service. They haven't gotten used to the can man as a whole. The iron's still hot to show them these other services that we can provide. So that's where we've seen that 20% number. When they come in the door, now we're offering them these other services. And then obviously figuring out the way you market it and the way you get in front of these people is another hard piece there. But the outbound calling on our existing customers has worked really, really well. Text blast, marketing campaigns, all of that has worked really well. And something I'll go back to, just so everyone is clear on this, the Can Man is our singular brand. And it might, some people think that's crazy, but when we first started, one of the things that we heard from some marketing consultants that we hired on who are our brand experts was, you guys are going to have a hard time convincing people that you can do multiple services. And so then that's where we started really investing more into this Can Man attitude. The Can Man can. What can the Can Man not do? The Can Man can. And so we've been able to keep it under that same brand. And we're actually doing a rebrand right now with KickCharge that's going to just kind of evolve what we already have. But that's where we've seen the huge opportunity, is keeping it under the same brand. And John, I hope I answered your question clearly. But just bringing them in on the can cleaning has been the main focus.
I mean, I have to believe, Cade, that your client acquisition cost is probably not minimal, but it's not as high as if you were just going out there trying to acquire clients, because you already have a funnel. So that, again, I've always seen on the flip end where people are in the pest control. So I'm glad to see that it's working in your space, because certainly, obviously you already have those clients, you're providing a home service, and this is just a quick add-on, and they trust you as it is. You've been doing their cans and all that. So thanks for sharing your success story. That's pretty cool. Cool.
Of course, yeah. And then one of my mentors who's done really, really well in the home service space, he's got a well over $100 million business in home services. What they're seeing in the HVAC space is this whole membership model, where you go and get all these people on HVAC tune-up membership. So you sell them at $20 a month. That covers them to a membership program. And then now what they're figuring out is how do you get those people to stay sticky, because they're not offering anything to them rather than an every 6 month service. And so what I've seen is people, like you said, are actually going from what they're doing in the trades to trying to find a sticky subscription that they can offer to keep these people and their internal customer base. So I think as a can cleaning company, we have a huge opportunity because it's such a low ticket that we're able to scale it to a larger customer base even quicker than pest control itself. Because pest control, that space is one of the most expensive spaces for marketing. When you've got most of the companies competing on a door-to-door space, which those guys are paying door-to-door reps on average 90% of that first year's contract value, which would be $500-600 for the first year just to buy that client. And so being able to buy them at $50 and then retarget them for that, our acquisition cost is a small percentage of what they're paying.
And I mean, I've seen a lot of these pest control companies, to your point, they're spending, they have a whole sales team doing door-to-door knocking, and that's not cheap. That's expensive. To where they're actually they already have a client base, they have a team, and they get into this trash bin cleaning business. And I've seen a lot of them just not take it to the next level and just kind of call it quits after 6 months to a year. I think in your space, it's kind of the opposite. You're already doing trash can cleaning, and I love to see the fact that you're taking on pest control. I got to believe that your pest control business, again, I don't know much about it, but in terms of your expenses and all that, your net income is probably higher than trash bin cleaning.
The EBITDA margin is lower. Yeah, it is lower. So, I mean, our pricing is at a premium on both sides, but still figuring out that business. I think long term, it's very possible to get our EBITDA a little bit higher on the pest control, but we'll see. I mean, we're still small, so we're not getting any buying power yet from manufacturers and different things, chemical distributors and stuff like that. So some of our costs are quite expensive there, but we'll see long term. I think the can cleaning might outpace it, but I mean, your average ticket is much higher.
No, sure.
That's excellent, man. John, first of all, great questions. Thanks for guiding that conversation. Getting the most out of Cade there. Really impressive numbers, Cade. For anyone, Cade's a humble guy. When he says 20% of his customers, if you guys don't understand how big of a company he has, I mean, 6 trash trucks and 3 pest control trucks right now. Is that? I just asked you a few minutes ago, Cade. Is that right? 9 total trucks.
4 and 4.
4 and 4. I mean, when he says 20% of customers, guys, we're talking the thousands of customers. That's incredible. One of the things that I pride myself in, and one of my principles here in the Binspa University, just in business mentorship in general, there should almost never be a correct answer. A consultant's favorite phrase is "it depends," and it's for a reason, because everyone in this room has a different situation. But one of the things that I really am adamant about, and that Cade has done such a good job, is if you're going to do add-on services, which is kind of the whole topic here, Cade's doing it the right way. The bin cleaning is such a good way to get a foot in the door, and then you upsell. For people out there who are trying to compete in different markets, you're spreading yourself thin, and you're competing, in different areas that don't work. Whereas Cade, what he does, he gets his foot in the door, he creates trust, and now he's got thousands of customers that trust him, thousands of customers that are going to have ants in their house or raccoon in their attic at some point that year. They trust him. He leverages that relationship. He leverages that trust, and doesn't have to spend money advertising as much as the other companies doing door to door, like you said. That's the way to do it if you're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, what happens also, Brendan? I mean, if I'm looking at Cade started in 2021, right? That was about 5 years ago. I think we all have heard the horror stories of people getting into this industry and they start to diversify themselves way too fast, right? Doing pressure washing, and they just fail. They just fall flat on their ass. I think Cade has done a great job of let's establish the can man. Let's establish the trash bin cleaning as my primary source of of business and revenue, and then from there, now I'm established. Let's go on to the next thing versus trying to take on 5 things at once, and everyone just falls flat on their face. And it happens so often, and we preach that in every sale before we close. You got to focus on trash bin cleaning, get that successful, and then branch off.
That's absolutely right, John. I mean, I won't go on a soapbox, but part of the reason I found this to be the conversation I wanted to have today, where I brought in Cade and I brought in John, because it's such an important question for this industry. So many people try to integrate. And I'll tell you, I'm the first one that's failed at this multiple times. I am a victim of shiny object syndrome. I have seen the woman in the red dress and chased her. Back in 2022, I tried to get into pavement asset management after an apartment complex we were power washing, right? Already out of my comfort zone, asked me to stripe for them. I bought a line striper, started striping. I got a coach. Failed miserably. I was hurting my brand and I was putting my time away. I got shiny object syndrome and it hurt my business. I sold it. I went back to my basics. I got a little too far into power washing and forgot the beauty of bin cleaning. Went back to my basics. In fact, on my Hawaiian shirt here, we rebranded at one point to the bin spot and power washing. And it was for SEO purposes. Jeremy, he's in this group right now. He was helping me with that as well. And I just did another rebrand. I went back to the bin spot. I have a great name. Why am I trying to get into too many things? Even if I will do it for customers and upsell, that's not the brand. It's not the Can Man and Pest Control. It's the Can Man Can. It shouldn't be the bin spot and power washing. And it took me 2 years to realize it. I'm the first to make this group and to make these meetings because I get just as much moderating and bringing on smart people as anyone here who's new to the industry. So this is great. The purpose of today's business meeting is not convince you to add on a service, figure out which is right out on service. It's seeing how people have done it successfully, but also why this is not right away, why you need to wait and how it's effective. So that being said, I got two more big questions for Cade specifically. One's a quick one. Cade, you said something really interesting to me, and I think I agree with it. During our meeting, you said the hardest upsell is the first upsell, and then everyone after that becomes substantially easier. Can you kind of just hit on that for a second, what you meant by that and what that means for people that try to do upsells and grow their business?
Totally. Yeah. I think I'd give the credit to Chase for saying that. I think he said that when you were in town. And then one thing I would add before going into that is even at the position that we're at, in the size of business we're at, none of this would have been possible without having somebody like Chase who is able to take half the business. And I'm not saying just pest control because I'm really involved with that, but taking the half of the business, which is leadership and sales, and be able to lead the guys and lead the sales teams that we have out there. And so, and then allowing me to focus on other pieces of the business, and which we both enjoy what we do and the separate parts of the business. But none of that would be possible if I was having to do every last piece on my own. I would probably be dead at this point. So yeah, but back to your question of the first sell being the hardest. Yeah, I think it's 100% true. You're running ads all the time, trying to get people in the door. And if you provide the awesome service, then your second service should sell itself off of your first service. And then what we're going towards is if that second one is a little bit easier, how's that third one? How's that fourth one? And so with pest control, we do everything top to bottom when it comes to pest control. And when I say that, I mean it. Pest control is one business. And then the funny thing about pest control is it's got like 10 different verticals, which we didn't know about when we got into it. So like, I feel like in the last maybe 30 days, we finally figured out every little piece to the pest control business. And it's something to look at when you're getting into a new space of, okay, what are all the future obstacles? Because for us, we don't want to screw up anything with our customers, especially with where we're at right now. And so being able to perform the service at the highest level all around was our goal from the start. And with pest control, there's mosquito control, there's termite control, and there's attic remediation when customers get rodents that can go and infest their attic. So figuring out all those services top to bottom was really what we focused on the last 24 months since we started the pest control side. But I truly believe that when we go and we're able to put the capital behind it to roll out one of these other services, and which is our goal. Ultimately, we want to be able to provide all these commoditized subscription services around the home and be able to create them to not be a commodity, competing against all these private equity groups who have just swarmed these industries and just looked at contract values and stuff like that. So yeah, I think when we go and roll out Weed and Lawn next, it's only going to be so much easier.
No, that's awesome.
Your people, Cade?
Sorry, John, I missed the first part.
Are you cross-training your employees from pest control, trash ban, as far as, covering vacations and people calling out sick, or you're running as two separate companies?
So it's two separate. A lot of times, which has been really cool that we've learned, is we've created so much career opportunity through the business now, because now it's trash can cleaning, making X amount of dollars. Now it's pest control, making X amount. So it's been a career opportunity in which we give. So when we do big jobs like attic remediation, some of those pieces of the job just requires helpers, and which is like loading bags, pulling trash off jobs. So we've given some more opportunity to the guys, but there's so much to the pest control side that we haven't really focused on the cross training. We keep it kind of separate, but the goal has been training our can cleaners on being able to at least have the baseline knowledge to get one of our pest control techs out to the customer's home to be able to show them what we can do. So giving them that baseline knowledge to say, oh yeah, we can do this, this, and this. Are you home today? We've got a technician down the street that can swing by. And then that gives them the huge opportunity to make a little bit of money there by setting that lead.
What you're also doing, Cade, is that you're also creating exit barriers, right? So one of the things I've learned in my 25 years of corporate America is that you want to create exit barriers to keep your employees, right? So in the sparkling bin service side, we've taken to the point to where, we create exit barriers, meaning opportunities for growth. We own multiple businesses, obviously, but they all intermingle with each other. But we've created exit barriers in terms of, hey, 401k, benefits, health, all that kind of stuff. But in your case, I'm looking at, if you have a driver that maybe wants to make some more money, well, guess what? He may look to stay with you longer because it's an opportunity to maybe become, someone involved in the pest control. And, we all know that keeping our employees is the most valuable asset to our company is good employee retention. So that's great, because I just think that you're probably doing it without knowing you're doing it, but you're creating those exit barriers. Hopefully people will stay on board, because there's an opportunity for them to make more money. And obviously, I'm sure there's a lot more training involved in pest control. And I know nothing about it, Cade. So if I'm talking through my, but I apologize.
Totally true.
You're probably looking at, getting certifications and knowing how to, all that kind of stuff, kind of like soft washing, right? It's not, even though people do it without properly being trained, that's not the right way to do it. So that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's
totally. Yeah. And and we use it as stories for our new hires as a great success story, as we've got a guy named Joey who's an absolute stud. He started as a can cleaner. His previous resume was a lot more sophisticated than being a can cleaner. And really quickly, he proved that. I mean, it doesn't matter what's on your resume, it's how you work. And he proved that really quickly. Within the first 3 to 4 months, he was already getting pulled over onto some of the projects that we were doing on the pest control side when we needed some more guys. And he immediately showed, okay, he can step over here and run these projects. So now he's worked his way out of the can cleaning side of it, and now he's become a project manager on the pest control side, making more money than he was, and also taking the next step in his career. So when we hire guys, we hired 2 guys in the last week. That's one of the big things we're able to use as a success story for our guys is being able to say, hey, this is what's possible for career opportunity and within the business.
Absolutely, man. That's awesome. Great stuff.
That's great. You can't have this conversation without talking about employees, because, right, if we're going to horizontally integrate and you're just saying, what else can I do? Well, we're going back to square one, where you're just making more work for yourself. You're buying yourself a job, which is not solving any issues. What Cade's done a really good job of is creating a way to grow and keep them around and create value. John's done the same thing. And if you don't, you're creating very unscalable models. We power wash and soft wash, but I've gotten less and less into that as bin cleaning has become just so profitable. And a big reason is not because I don't want the extra revenue and it's not an easy upsell, but guess who's got to do it? It's got to be me. Until you got a guy that's long-term and is trained properly, there's so much risk in a lot of these, not only risk of damage, but risk of brand. If you're not doing a great job, right? If you're kicking a squeegee out to a window, you're not going to break the window. But if you leave streaks, that's no longer your brand. Your brand's not, we do things perfectly. You're hurting your brand. We were hurting our brand with some of our add-on services, so we dropped them. And now what's happening is when we do these jobs, I'm there personally. So now my time is not selling and growing the business. Now I'm working back to in the business instead of on the business. It's not scalable, right? Cade's done an excellent job of making it scalable with pest control. It works. My last question for you, Cade, and we'll have plenty of time for Q&A at the end before we move to John, because I want to pick John's brain. He's got so many clients that have done so many different things. Last question to you, Cade. You and Chase, as brothers, you're able to work together to attack 2 different industries separately. And from what I've gathered from you, and correct me if I'm wrong, you primarily focus on the bin cleaning. Chase focuses on the pest control, which is great. It lets you guys be focused. Although you have one brand, you're able to have individual focuses to stay, alert into what you're doing and not get these, what I've got, shiny object syndrome and do too much. So how do you and Chase kind of balance that relationship with each other, with the brand, with what you're doing, while also trying to know what the other person's doing, the other brand's doing? so that you can stay focused, but you can still be integrated as much as possible with each other?
Yeah, so it's really worked out perfect. There's something called Culture Index, and it's something that that came from his company that he was with previously, where it can measure your personal traits and your aptitude and where you'll excel the most as a person. And it was funny when we did it. We were almost the exact same, which is not common to see. So we're really much alike, which does not make a good partnership. But being brothers, we've been able to balance that to where we put our brother in friendship in front of everything, and we don't let that get in between us or the business get in between that. But we stay focused on two separate pieces of the business, and it just worked out where, like I said, he really loves the sales and leadership side of the business, and I really love the marketing and operations side. And so really the focus is on employee management right now. So he's kind of managing a different group of people than I am. So I'm managing more of the office side, and he's more of the office side, and then the can cleaning team, which is we've got a leader in the can cleaning team, so he really helps out with that from the field. And then Chase is managing all of our pest control sales guys, and then all of our pest control tech. So that's really the focus that we have is on employee management, and that's what we were able to separate, and then also just some of the back end operations. So we don't really cross over into what the other person is doing. Chase, do you have anything that you're able to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said, can you guys hear me? Sorry, I've been driving.
We got you, Chase, loud and clear.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I would say Cade hit it, hit the nail on the head. I think the big thing for us was, and I knew kind of coming into it years ago when we were teaming up, that I had, 7 years of unique experience in home improvement that was going to balance really well with, where he was at in his career. And that's not to say that I knew more than Cade. I just had more experience and had experience at a really high level, and really sophisticated, well-ran home improvement company. And I knew as we integrated more home improvement type of services that I'd be able to offer a lot of value in the way of that. I think what Cade just said, though, was, what he's really excited about in the business and what really gets me excited about in the business are kind of two different things. And I think that's extremely important for any partnership. And I think one of the things that you just said a second ago, Brendan, was not to be a Debbie Downer on this meeting, because I know this stuff is exciting. And I love a new opportunity as much as anybody, trust me. But one thing you said was, adding additional services too quick can end up, hindering the brand and hurting that customer relationship, more than it's actually worth. And so one of the things that I think, we've had the unique opportunity to do was, take two owners and really put our blood, sweat, and tears into two different parts of the business. And I think that is just the most valuable thing that we've been able to do, and why, we've been able to do it successfully so far. I would just say for anybody getting into another vertical, it's identifying what skills are going to be needed to get that thing off the ground. With pest control, we knew it was going to be, hey, this is a little bit more, sales oriented. We're going to have to be going to people's homes and, running a sales process, which that's what I did for 6 years. And so we knew that, man, these skill sets would line up well. So this could potentially work. And I would say, if you don't have a person to do that, or a person to backfill you in the can cleaning to allow you to go do that, it's really, really not a smart idea. And that's just one of the things I think, staying focused on a singular thing and becoming an absolute expert at it is more valuable than offering, 12 services that you can't do any of them right. Which again, I know is not the sexy, fun thing to say, but I think that's the thing that we've really, acknowledged and really been successful at. I would say on the can cleaning side, if Cade steps away for a week and we're not getting, signups, Google reviews, customer support's not getting responded to, our guys aren't happy out in the field, all those little things that make the thing go. If those things aren't happening, then a new service makes zero sense.
Absolutely.
You're absolutely right. A jack of all trades is a master of none. I wrote down here, you had the opportunity, you had the experience. I think for the group, if you want to add a service, what I've gathered from y'all too is get your brother on board. I wrote that in my notes. So just make sure you partner with your brother. Now, you guys did it great. You guys keep your focus. So by working together, you avoid shiny object syndrome. You both have your focus, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm going to pivot here for a second, guys. Stay on. We're going to have Chase and Cade here for Q&A at the end. But when we have John Conway, the industry expert here, it would be a shame to not pick his brain, not only what he's done, but he's worked with people, like he said, all across the country that have done so many different things. John, why don't you share with us some of the things that either you've done or you've seen your clients do effectively with add-on services, maybe even, some of your best stories, some maybe horror stories, especially if you wouldn't mind some seasonality stories. I know there's a lot of people up north who do other stuff because they need to focus in the winter on something other than bins. So what have you seen that you've done, your clients have done that have worked and that haven't worked?
Yeah, I mean, so me operating in South Florida, obviously I'm operating 12 months of the year, just like kind of you guys are. There's a lot, there's 10,000 pressure washing and soft washing companies. So when I first started 15 years ago, yeah, on weekends I used to do, I kind of got caught up in the whole thing of, okay, let me make $1,000 by doing a couple pressure washing jobs. And I soon forgot why I got into the industry. And I can tell you that I just focus on trash bin cleaning, residential, commercial sides, probably about 40% of my revenue, commercial dumpsters. So we've been in that space for quite some time. So focusing on that, doing a lot of pressure washing on dumpster pads and commercial properties. And really my business is purely commercial dumpsters. I don't even do pressure washing anymore. I mean, I own a pressure washing company. We build rigs for people. So, any small residential deals, I just give them to my clients because we're focused more on the commercial side. And having done that, we also have established a great relationship with a lot of the HOAs, not directly with the HOAs. We've partnered with a couple of top property management companies, and I was just very lucky 15 years ago signing up one of my first clients on the job, and she happened to be a president of one of the largest property management companies in South Florida. So we've got about 45 HOAs under our hat. I know it's hard to get, but we pick up 2 or 3 a year. So the extra revenue that we're getting is on the HOA side, not more so, doing anything in terms of diversion. It's purely trash bin cleaning, dumpster cleaning, and HOAs. HOAs, there's a couple of posts I've seen out there where people say, well, I'd rather not do the HOAs because you have to come down in price. But man, if you could knock off, 300 bins in a matter of a couple of hours and you knock off 20%, you'll list price, it's money to be made. So that's pretty much been in my space, is purely commercial, residential, pressure washing for commercial accounts. We do a lot of chute cleaning, which has been something we took on about 4 years ago. So we're going, and it's funny because on the commercial side, we get a lot more leads from these high rises asking us to clean their trash chutes, not knowing their real problem is the dumpsters. So we get the trash chute, we talk about the dumpsters, and then we do the power washing the dumpster pads. So we're getting 3 revenue streams. I would say 70% of our commercial accounts were, and I'm not focusing on restaurants. I stay away from restaurants because I'd rather focus on an HOA or an apartment complex that has 15 dumpsters versus hitting 15 restaurants. And on these apartment complexes, I'd say 70%, we're definitely doing pressure washing and dumpster cleaning. And now with the trash chutes, that's really taken off. So, and that's a pretty simple process. It's not difficult to do that. So we get a lot of leads from trash chute that turn into, let's clean your dumpster because that's your real problem, and let's do your dumpster pad as well.
No, John, you're kind of the epitome of finding a focus and sticking with it. I mean, all these years in this industry, so many people would have tried to add every single service on: lawn care, pool maintenance, windows, you name it. But by sticking to your core competencies, it's clear why you've got to where you are today. I know some of your customers across the country have done lots of different things, between power washing, obviously, but I know you got like a street sweeper out in Los Angeles. You got people who do the pest control. You have people. Tell us some of the interesting stories of people who've done stuff successfully, and then maybe some add-ons that you've seen fail so many times. You kind of warn people about adding to your bin cleaning business.
I mean, I can talk to you. Obviously, CMAX is probably one of the largest companies in the U.S. They've got 15 of our trucks. They do a lot of commercial. I'd say 40% of their revenue has to do with city contracts. They get a couple side loaders, but to your point, their street sweeping is where they got started, and they kind of added trash being to the street sweeping. So it was an add-on service for them. So they pick up these city contracts because they already have contracts doing street sweeping. So that's huge for them. They've got a lot of contracts with waste haulers where they'll have 3 SB5s in a yard all weekend long, just cleaning dumpsters, refurbished dumpsters. So that's been huge for them. I believe Josh from MD Clean joined in, and I think he's in the call. And I know Josh has taken on some pressure washing jobs, which is great to see him scale. So I think what Josh has done, like other people, is we always say focus on the trash, kind of like what Cade did. He focused on trash bin cleaning for 4 or 5 years, and then went into the pest control. And I think people like Josh and other people, I've had clients come back and say, "Can you build me a pressure washing rig?" Because our pressure washing, and they've created a second, corporation, a second business opportunity, and they're focusing on pressure washing with their own trucks or trailers, and doing bin washing. But it's an upsell, exactly what Cade's doing with the pest control. So we've seen a lot of clients do that. As far as the cold weather market, I have a lot of people, which is surprising to me. Because again, even though I was born and raised in the Northeast, I've been down here for about 20 some odd years. But I've got people in Chicago and parts of Illinois operating 12 months of the year with 7, 8, 9 trucks, being very successful. I've had some clients that will shut down for 3 months, especially in Canada. Canada is huge as far as they'll shut down for 3 months, and all they do is snow plowing. So they're focusing on snow plowing. Holiday lights has been a big thing for people that really shut down. And there are some clients of mine that will, in Ohio and other areas in Tennessee and some of the cooler states that will add on, snow plowing for the winter, still do trash bin cleaning. Some just shut down altogether. So it's I've seen my clients get into gutter cleaning before the holiday season, before the ice gets in there and kind of clogs everything up. We've got Christmas lights, the snow plowing. I've had a couple of clients getting into the dryer vent and duct cleaning. And that has helped them become, during their slow season, they're focusing on that. So for those that don't shut down, they're taking on other things just to continue with their revenue. Because we all know that, October through January, February, sales are going to slow down no matter where you are, even in South Florida. So my ad spend is cut down to a minimum during those 3 or 4 months. But I've got a lot of people that will take on other services, such as the things I mentioned before.
I love that, John. Okay. I got one more direct question. I got a question for Jeremy and James here in a minute. And then the rest of this meeting, this isn't my meeting. This is your meeting. So it's going to be Q&A. And we'll aim those at Cade and John as our industry experts today. But I do want to ask Jeremy Thompson and James Love, who took the time today to join this group. James is our group AI expert. James has done so much in his life. He was from San Diego. Originally, he was doing audio visual installations. I mean, for guys like Aaron Rodgers, $1 million mansions. And Jeremy's been on the digital marketing side, just an absolute expert, SEO, all the online stuff. And one of the reasons I have a question for them is when you talk about horizontal integration, you also have to talk about pivoting, because at some point you have to pivot. If something's kicking butt and you're not attacking it further, then you're not doing it right. And if something's not working and you're not pivoting it away or changing, then you're not doing something right. In my instance, I tried adding stuff and I quickly had to put my ego aside and pivot back to my competency, whereas if you add something and it's taken off, you have to understand how to implement that correctly and leverage that success. So Jeremy and James, you guys work with other companies that have had to pivot and have had different success and failures. And you guys yourselves have had success and failures and pivoted based on personal situations, industry. I would love if you guys could take 2 or 3 minutes each and just kind of talk about pivoting, especially when it comes to adding on services or changing your focus. How do you know when and how to pivot, and what's that kind of been for you in your experience?
Well, let me cut in here because I actually have another meeting in 10 minutes. But there are pivoting in 2 different aspects. Pivoting in what services you offer, that's definitely a pivot. But there's also a pivot in what clients you may look at. Now, I'll give you my experience. I have been working in the construction industry for 30 years, doing what I do. And in a certain time, there was 2007 and 2008, where construction agency, especially the San Diego market, which I was in, the Southern California, there was zero. No, there was nothing going on. And I had crews, warehouses, I had offices, I had a showroom, I had expenses. I still had to have work. There was zero work. So my pivot is, and in San Diego, I was fortunate because there's 3 major military bases there. My pivot was looking for a different clientele, somebody that was still spending money. And the only one that was spending money at the time, which I was fortunate to pivot this way, was the military. So we started taking on the military in a big way. And that got us through the times where everybody else was finding new work, new jobs, new careers. So sometimes pivot means just look at your area, see what opportunities are there. And I know, Brendan, you're not too far from one of the biggest bases in the United States. You get a contract with them, and that could be huge. I'm saying that sometimes you got to think about outside the box and how you pivot and what your pivot choices could be.
That's excellent insight, James. I spent 4 years on that base. I guess it's time to go back for some jobs. Jeremy, I know Jeremy has some great insight here as well. Jeremy, what's your 2 cents on pivoting for you?
Let me just say that execution trumps perfection every time. Don't wait for it to be perfect, for you to get all your ducks in a row and saying you're going to do this and you're going to do that. Just execute. I like it. I don't know. You can kind of take it or leave it, but I like it when Grant Cardone says, I don't want to ready, aim, fire. I want to fire, then get ready and aim again, so you already know where that first shot went. So by the time the other guy is trying to figure out where he's going to land his first shot, I've already shot, I've already shot and I know I missed, but at least now I know exactly where that second shot's going to go. Execution trumps perfection every time. I'm in the middle of a pivot right now. I've been marketing. I've been in business for right at 20 years now, doing websites and SEO and Google advertising, as well as social media brand building and social media Facebook advertising, online reputation management, and now we're getting into AI search optimization and learning a lot about that and training our clients, how to do it the best. And we focused a lot on home services, and we've pivoted a portion of our company to start working with mining companies that produce mining equipment and that also operate mining operations. Well, it was good. We were able to work with a few companies, but it kind of capped out because there's only so many mining companies and mining operations that are going on. And Canadians, for some reason, I can't tell you why, but they don't want to hire Americans to do their marketing. So we're in the middle of pivoting now, still working with home services, like fence stainers, fence builders, deck builders, trash can cleaning businesses, garage door repair guys, things of that nature, of siding, pergolas, things of that nature. But the other part of our business, we're going to start pivoting and start working with chiropractors. We've worked with several chiropractors, getting their practices online and helping them market and stuff. So we've got one of our businesses where we're going to pivot towards that. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. I love hearing the story of Cade and Chase. Man, you guys are rock stars. You really are. You can tell that you're passionate about not living to work, you know what I'm saying, or working to live. You just want to live, and just work just seems to be a byproduct of that, and that's great because you should have several avenues of revenue, and that's what you guys have done. You've diversified in a way where you're getting several avenues of. I wouldn't be surprised if you guys started a fiberglass pool installation company on the side, with that. And so anyway, a great book, actually 2 good books, and it's the same author wrote both of them, which is crazy. Now, I cannot stand the guy who reads the book on Audible. It's really annoying. But the guy who wrote the book, I've heard him speak several times. His name is Dan Sheridan. And the first book that he wrote was called They Ask, You Answer. And the second book he wrote was called Endless Customers. All right. Now, what was cool about what Dan Sheridan did is that he answered questions on his website that customers wanted to ask, but companies were afraid to answer. You know, like exactly how much does it cost to get a fiberglass pool? No pool companies wanted to answer that. They were the first ones to actually write a whole article on their website on how to price out a pool. And because of that, their customer base increased. You know what I mean? So I think sometimes when we get in business, we have to pivot and go ahead and bite the bullet and be that business that answers the tough questions. And you want to do it in long tail form on your website, in your marketing materials, things of that nature, because AI right now is looking for long-tailed answers, long-tailed form. So ask a question, write a really long article or answer to that question, and that's one of the surefire ways to really get picked up in AI search optimization, which is what a lot of people are going to now. People are starting to move away from Google and they're starting to go to ChatGPT to look, what's the best property management company in this area? What's the best, pest control company in this area? And it's okay. Write an article about your competitor, things that they do better than you, things that you do better than them, and do a comparison. I mean, don't turn it into a pissing contest, but if you do comparisons like that, then people, what? Even though they're not really good at this thing, they're really great at these other things. And just the fact that they were open and honest and upfront and stepped up to the plate to explain about this and to talk about that, I want to hire those guys because I know they're going to give me a honest work, So that's
Jeremy,
that's a good pivot.
That's fantastic, Jeremy. Yeah, Jeremy and James are both part of our community. They're our AI and SEO experts. They're here at our disposal. Really good friends of myself. So appreciate the insight and for continuing to help everyone in our online community. On that note, I'll plug it real quick. Guys, we do this every other week. Today's topic, right, kind of a little off key. We talked about that horizontal integration, which is not focusing on what we're trying to do. But Cade just did it so well. I wanted him as a guest speaker for this topic, and Chase, meeting the two of them was just so fantastic. John, every meeting he has insight to offer, so he's welcome to be our guest speaker at every meeting possible. Going forward, a lot of times what we're going to talk about is value creation for what we're doing, not what we can add. It's lifetime value, it's marketing, it's reducing churn, it's the business side, it's marketing, it's logistics, it's route optimization, stuff that's the key to our business. This is not a bin cleaning industry. This is a logistics and marketing industry. We happen to clean bins. So if you guys are not part of the group already, the Bin Spy University, I highly recommend checking us out. The $20 a month just helps me cover that server fee. And then now we're part of the Sparkling Bins turnkey package. So we're going to continue to grow the meetings. As you see, the more people who show up, I mean, this is the true value, these bi-weekly mastermind meetings. The more people who come in, ask questions, share their insights. We have 285 lessons, 30 courses, and some case studies. They're great. But the truth is, this is where we get the most value. So if you're showing up and asking questions, that's how we're gonna crush it. On that note, I'm gonna open it up for questions now. Anybody who needs to leave, Cade and John, I really appreciate you spending an hour here. If you guys have to hop off, feel free. If you want to stick around for some questions, I'll stay until all questions are answered. But the rest of this meeting is all yours. Ask about horizontal integration first, and then if there's no more, we'll kind of open it up to general questions here. We got guys, we got people here who do like poop scooping for dogs. We got guys who are in so many different industries. We got my father in here who does biohazard cleanup, and then one day wants to add trash bin cleaning, as something to think about as well. So a lot of plethora of knowledge. Let's start off with some questions for John and Cade, and then we'll go from there. So yeah, open it up, raise your hands, and I'll call on y'all. Yeah, let's start with Chris. What do you got, man?
Hey, appreciate you putting this together, Cade and Chase. Thanks for sharing your information and story on the pest control. What system are you guys using on the pest control side for your routing, scheduling, and payments?
Yeah, so I'll answer this because it's most of the stuff that I deal with on a day-to-day. But what we bounced back and forth from a few softwares when we first launched the pest control, and we had services running on different softwares, which was just a massive headache. So we moved everything to Gorilla Desk, is what we found right now allows us to have the most capability with the multiple softwares. I would say Jobatory is working towards rolling out some pest control offerings that they can add in for customers. And I've been working with Jamie on that quite a bit, and he's done a really good job. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, right now just using Gorilla Desk, which it's really open-ended. So we're able to create a lot of customization on what we need.
Gotcha. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Jeremy, you got a question for us, brother?
So I would be interested in learning and hearing, Cade, how you guys, you and Chase, and even you, John, how you guys do any kind of old client reactivation or run any kind of specials for people that maybe they were a client of yours 6 months ago or a year ago, but they're not now? Do you guys do anything like that to maybe kind of fill in the empty spots on your calendar or your routes?
Yes, absolutely, Jeremy. Obviously, I mean, we have, I have a full-time logistics manager that manages all of our routes, and she kind of is pretty busy, but she has a virtual assistant that I want to thank Jason Proctor for turning me on to a virtual assistant. For those that don't have one, it's an investment well worth it. So she really helps out on the follow-ups for clients that have terminated for whatever reason. And, I can tell you that, we're seeing roughly, she's bringing back about 10%. So if she's reaching out to 100 clients, she's bringing back 10 to 15% of those clients just by reaching out via email. Like nothing, time, it's not time involved.
Yeah.
Other than just emails and maybe some phone calls. So yeah, and by doing that, we're kind of reaching out to them with, hey, if you sign up by this date, we're going to give you a free cleaning or something like that. So there's a carrot that we're dangling in front of them. But yeah, it's helped us out tremendously in terms of just, especially during our slow times.
Awesome. And do any of you guys, one more question, do any of you guys do scorecards with your customers? Like send them a kind of a different than asking for a review, hey, is there anything that you feel like that we can improve as a company as far as what the services that we're doing for you? It can be as simple as, can you put my trash can back exactly the way that you found it?
Totally.
You guys do those kind of things?
One of the things that we found in the last year was exactly the question you asked. I think that's one of the easiest ways to create a customer for life is on that first service, go to their door, and we push all of our techs to do this, and we pay them off multiple different things, but one of them is the reviews that they're going to go out and get. And I've given them ways to go get the review, which is go up to the door and introduce yourself to the customer on that first service and say, hey, there's something we have in our software. This isn't what I would say, but there's something we have in our software that's a top note. We put in that top note exactly where their cans go. That's the biggest thing. If I'm getting my trash cans clean, I want them put back where they go. So then I don't even have to touch them. And so our guys have that opportunity to go and show the customer how awesome we are with, hey, where does that can go back? And then we give them ways to go get that review on their own, and then they get paid for that. But I think that's huge. On the Net Promoter Score question, we don't do anything currently. We've got an internal thing in our CRM that will do that. But our big thing is also happy calling. So after their first service, giving them a call from the office and saying, hey, how was the service? Was there anything we could have done better? And that's where we've found a huge opportunity to say, hey, well, I don't know if you know this, we have these other services that we offer, and with your membership, you get X, Y, Z. And so, just taking as much time as you possibly can to figure out what your customer feedback really is. And as a small business, we don't have all the money to invest in that like big companies do, but trying to do whatever we can to really figure out that feedback, because that's the only way you get better. So we definitely try and do everything we can there. We could always do better though.
You also talked, Jeremy, that every time that we're doing a first time cleaning, typically our routes, we're about 97% maintenance bins and 3% clients that we're cleaning. So we try to leave those for the end of the day. And every time, and I've been doing this for 15 years, and even when I was cleaning bins, is every time we do a first time cleaning, we knock on that client's door. We want to make sure that they were satisfied. It's the wow factor. Wow, the bins, I've never realized how clean they're going to get. And that's an opportunity for us to talk. Okay, do you have any neighbors, any friends or families you can refer to us? So, I go back to the days when I first started. I used to hire people that were mechanically inclined, but now you hire people that are more client facing. Every driver gets $25 for every new client they sign up on location. I want them engaged. They're knocking on people's doors. They're asking where the HOA president lives. They're doing the free cleaning. So it's the engagement. I factor in a half an hour of talk time into our routes every single day to make sure there's that client interaction. I can tell you that we get a lot of, there are some days that our drivers are picking up 10, 15 new clients just on location, and it's typically late in the day when people are home from work. But knocking on that door really is my background with ADP was customer service, running a 10,000 man call center. So people ask what I do for a living. I own a service company that just happens to clean trash bins. So service is foremost, and we knock on people's doors. And even what Cade does, we've been doing that too. We call the client to make sure they're satisfied. Every time we have a first time cleaning, if my driver does not get to the person at home, we're making a phone call the next day. And that's kind of introduced in the whole client referral program. And so it's helped us get a lot more Google reviews and just be on target with what our clients' expectations are.
John, I couldn't agree more. I hired a UH-60 Blackhawk mechanic, a staff sergeant from the Army, to be my ops manager, to do all of my mechanics and leadership. And by taking the mechanic part away, once I hire guys for friendliness, sales ability, and reliability, man, our sales have shot up like crazy. Same thing, $25. It's all customer facing. We give out free cleanings like they're candy. Because once someone sees the bin, it's crazy. I saw Jason's hand up, but I got one last question on that note for Cade and John. For those first time, I don't know if you have this number, but it's mostly for the one-time cleanings. What percentage of one-time cleanings before they pay the invoice have you guys through door knocking or through the happy calls, have you guys got to sign up to be recurring? Do you have that percentage, a guesstimate or offhand?
Yeah, I can go back to when I first started. I was really dead against the first time cleanings. And then I realized now we don't call it first time cleanings. We call it on-demand service. Because we virtually have customers that call us or clients that call us 5-6 times a year to get their bins clean when they want them clean, holiday, Christmas, Passover, and they're paying a premium, $70 to have their bins clean. So, but I would say an average of about 20% of clients, 25%, people that convert automatically or by us doing a follow-up call. So our virtual assistant kind of does a lot of the follow-ups on the first time clean. So I'd say about 20-25% convert.
That's a really good number. Cade, how about you? Do you have the number offhand, or Chase?
I don't have that number, but I would say to John's point of the on-demand service, even when our guys are out there in the field, they have some scripting that they train on. I don't want them to read it like robots, but some scripting that they train on when somebody comes up to them. And yeah, the on-demand thing is something that they're not presenting to people. It's just, hey, we got a monthly that's $30, or you could pay just quarterly and we'll be out every 3 months and it's $50. And if they say, hey, we want to do it just one time, then we give them the opportunity to get a discount on that on-demand service. But going away from the idea of a one-time service and just pushing them to that on-demand service. We have a piece of our service area that's a very high-end area. Some of those people don't want subscriptions. They just want on-demand service. I'm going to call you and you come out, or I'm going to go online and book an on-demand service and you come out. So I do really like that, but no, I don't have that number in front of me.
Okay, awesome. Jason's been quiet. Jason's one of the other big industry experts here, guys. We're blessed to have him. I saw you had a hand up. If you have anything to add, Jason, please do. And then any questions, to present to the group, just any input you got for us, Jason. I think you're still on mute, brother.
Hey, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say thanks for everyone coming in and sharing. It gives me inspiration to think about things I'm not thinking about. We typically just go out and get new customers via social media, and we just focus on that. And I don't really care. I don't know what the conversion rate is. I just know that once they've cleaned somebody's can, they're never going to clean it. So some customers come back 2 months later. Some customers come back 3 years later, and they're coming in from a one-time clean and they'll go to monthly after 3 years. It's odd, but it happens. But what our system does, and what we're trying to get a little bit more into, is it has a drip campaign on every one-time customers. So every 3 months we're dripping on them saying, I can't believe it's been blah blah blah, and we're coordinating that message 1 week before we're going to be in that neighborhood. So we'll say, we're going to be in your neighborhood next Tuesday, and here's a coupon. And those things just drip all the time, and we get new customers every day as a result of it. But one of the things that I've sort of been thinking about and trying to make it sort of a little quirky and funny is, we have the data. We could go in and say, well, this person's got a trash can and a and a yard can. We could send a message from the recycle can saying, hey, what about me? You've left me out. Let me put you back. Why don't you give me some love? Put me on the route for X dollars next time. Stuff like that, just sort of just make things kind of funny. This vertical integration with other businesses. I belong to a lot of pressure washing groups, and it scares the crap out of me when all I see from these people is, I F this up and how can I fix it? So I'm very, 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 very apprehensive about putting water on anything other than a garbage can at the moment. Now, we've built out our website for driveway cleanings. It was going to be an add-on. I developed it and I didn't shoot. To Jeremy's part, I just didn't pull the trigger on that yet. I see somebody's in here doing the doggy patrol thing. Now, I think that would be kind of a cool add-on to the trash can cleaning business. I mean, a lot of people want our service because they have animals. So it seems like that would be an easy, to me anyway, easier add-on business, and you can tie it into the same routes if possible. I don't know anything about that business, but I just think it's kind of a cool business. My only concern is the barrier to entry on that business seems very, very low to me, which could be potentially a problem.
That's a great point, Jason. I think, like Cade showed earlier, even with a low barrier to entry, if you're doing this right, you're not necessarily having to compete with all these other people. You're just leveraging your current customers and say, hey, I don't have to compete with all these guys who can join, because as a pressure washer myself next to Fort Hood, I promise you, if anybody here is by a military town, every month a bunch of E4s get pissed off because they were in the Army and were yelled at all their lives by their sergeants. They get out and they're entrepreneurs, and they go to Home Depot, they buy a Ryobi pressure washer, and now they're handymen that do everything. And they're everywhere. And no matter how much they suck and saturate the market with $50 jobs, and they're out in a month, the next specialist is in the next month to do it. So we don't want to compete with that, right? Just like I'm sure nobody wants to compete in an open market in a new service. So Cade's doing it the right way. He says, well, I got 3,000 customers that trust me. If I can get 2% of them to want to do this service and it's profitable, then that's all I got to do. And it's almost free. You're not paying with money. You're paying with the trust and relationships you've built. But we got someone in here that does doggy patrol, brother. Why don't you share? How has that been for you? How's that integration between bins and doggy patrol bin? I know you said you only did bins like once, twice, 2 weeks a month. Kind of explain how you've brought those two together.
So I actually got, I got into bin cleaning because I was way back in the days. I seen these trailers cleaning bins, and I hired to come clean my bins because I didn't want to do it. And just a lot of companies. One guy, I think he bought from John, and he was an older guy, vet guy, and he was struggling. He was like, "Hey, can you help me?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. I'm not going to clean trash cans. I have no interest, no need. I'm happy with you." And he came for a long, and he got out. I guess he sold it. He just couldn't get the traction he needed, and I felt bad for him. And then so hired another company, and they billed me one day, didn't show up. I said, screw it. I'm just going to start my own. So that's kind of how I got into that. But the scooping, I've been in for like 18 years, and I actually had probably 50 people already signed up from the scooping for doing trash cans. I was like, hey, I'm going to do trash can cleaning. Oh, sign me up, sign me up, sign me up. Because they know my service, just like Cade. They know who I am. They know my service. They know I'm gonna show up, and so I got a lot of customers. We piggyback. I have a scooper go out to scoop, and then I go clean their trash cans. So it works out pretty good. And for Cade on the one-time cleans, I bet you're like me. I've had some, and I don't understand them, but I don't argue with them. They're like, hey, I just need a one-time clean. Can you come do it? Just reach out to me every 3 or 4 months. And I'm thinking to myself, and I tell them, why don't you just sign up for quarterly? Oh, no, I don't want to sign. I don't want to commit. But they'll call me every 3 or 4 months and pay the one time, which is, man, I mean, if you want to do that, you got the money. I'll take it. I mean, I ain't gonna turn down money, but I don't do any add-on. I don't do driveways, sidewalks. I've got people that I just send that to. I'm not gonna, I stick to 2 things. It's dog poop and trash cans only. I don't do commercial. I've got a guy that John works with in James, I think it is, south of us.
James Holmes.
Yeah, I've sent him because he's got the SB5, and I've had people, hey James, man, this guy's got some dumpster bin that needs to be cleaned. You got the truck to lift it and the pad, and I just send it his way. And he doesn't want residential, but I send it to him down in Fort Worth.
Yeah, that's James Stockton. I'm sorry, yeah, James Stockton.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, I can tell you that the whole thing with the doggy poop is really intriguing to me because I'm a dog owner. I finally moved to a high rise, and I remember every Saturday my wife would give me 5 or 6 Walgreens or CVS bags and say, go out and pick up the shit that's in the backyard, John. And I'd do it, right? And now I would pay anyone. I'd pay someone to come clean my pool, my landscaping. So, like, there's no one doing it in Miami. So, I may reach out to you just to kind of, get some feedback on it, because that's something I'd love to be able to add to what we're doing today. And, I've got thousands and thousands of clients that I know have pets. And there's tons of dog poop in the backyard that they're picking up every single week. So,
and you hear roofers, oh, I wish you'd come pick this up, or landscapers, and that's the biggest deal is the landscapers. Hey, can you get it? And I'm like, you know what? And that's just what I used to tell them. Because when I started this, it was just me and maybe 1 or 2 other guys. And now there's probably 10 or 12 of them. I mean, there's so many, I can't even keep up with them anymore. But my one gal, she's been with me for 7 years now. So, and she'll do 30 to 40 yards a day by herself.
Really?
She works like 6 hours a day.
What do you charge for that?
Hours.
How do you charge for that? Is it based on the frequency, like weekly, monthly, how often you go out there?
Yeah, I do weekly or twice a week. So weekly, I just do it like based on 2 dogs, it's $75 a month. And then if I want twice a week, I do it like a Monday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday. And I usually do about anywhere from 115 to 130 a month. So, and it works out good. And that's a prepay. I do prepay because I don't like. I found out a lot of people in this business, and I don't know, man, they're chasing a lot of money. And I don't like chasing money, man. That's one thing I'm not going to spend my time on is chasing money. I prepay for every business, trash can, dog poop. It's prepay or die. I don't chase. I don't have collections department.
So where you're actually dumping your dog poop?
So I've got a dumpster that I pay. I pay them about. Actually, I got to pay them about $300 a year, and they let me dump there all the time.
As long as you bag it up, you can throw it in the dumpster.
Yeah, we use the Glad bags. I go to Kroger's up where I live, and the store manager's like, hey, what do you need? I'm like, I need 20 cases of bags. He's like, okay, I'll order them. I'll get them here tonight. And we outline our little bucket, and then I go to Sam's and buy the big 55-gallon bucket liners and then throw everything in there. And then that way it's, you're not touching anything.
No, do you have a different pricing model, whether it's a Chihuahua or a Great Dane?
No, because people ask me that, Jason, and they're like, to be honest with you, the small dogs are the most. It's a pain, man. It's because you got to take your time, and the big dogs. You know where it is. You can see it. Less complaints.
Good point. That's a good point. Yeah. Listen, I mean, I may reach out to you. I know that's an untapped market here in Miami. There's a lot of people that I know of, that have gates and have dogs. As opposed to walking their dogs like I used to do, I just open up the back door, let the dogs out for an hour, and come back. And every Saturday, I'm cleaning up poop. So I need to reach out to you because obviously I think that would be something that I could add to what we're doing today.
And I don't know about you, John, or Jason, or even Cade. I mean, so I know Cade gets it because, man, and a lot of people won't touch it, but they throw their, and it's kind of disgusting. They throw their poop in the trash can, and they don't bag it. They just throw it in there. And I went and cleaned some. And to me, I guess because I do it, I just take the trash can, dump it over, hit it, and then I have a spade in my truck, a spade and bucket. I'll just get a bag out, scoop it up, put it in the bag, and go on about my day.
I found that something like as part of our I guess client expectations, if we find any human human or pet waste that's unbagged, we're not going to clean the bin. And a lot of times we find out it's the neighbor who's walking by that's taking the dog out for a walk and just picks it up and throws it in the trash bin. It's not your customer that you're out there cleaning bins. So yeah, I mean, obviously that is it happens quite often for sure.
I like the between you and Jason, you guys bring up a really good point of risk here when it comes to horizontal integration, right? I talked about risk to the brand, about putting your name on something that may be not the quality that you give with trash bins. But you guys both make an excellent point. Jason, yeah, the power washers are constantly using the wrong chemicals and pressures and damaging stuff, and that can be very expensive. Myself, one time, one of my crews was soft washing a house, and the homeowner said her window was cracked. We definitely didn't crack it, but what was I going to do? So we paid out of pocket to replace the window, despite I knowing that there was almost no chance that was us. What I love about Doggy Patrol, right, much lower risk. And although John brought a good point up of like, hey, lower barrier to entry, we're not competing with all the other customers. We're doing what Cade's doing. We're earning trust through bin cleaning or another service and then adding that on. So I think that's a great point you guys bring up. If you guys want to get into any other industry, we always want to just look at risk first and foremost. Even as something as simple as holiday lighting. If you're going to put somebody on a ladder, make sure you're insured and OSHA standards and they know what they're doing. Bin cleaning is great. There's very little risk. Me and Cade talked about this earlier. Cade, I mean, of the tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of trash bins you've cleaned in your life, how many of you had to replace or have you broke? Zero. Yeah, I'm at about zero myself. John, Jason, have you guys ever
I had one that I paid for when our truck got rear-ended and destroyed the back of our truck and the can. And when I called the hauler to get a replacement can, they said, well, they're going to have to pay for it. Like, okay, let me pay for that for you. I think it's crazy, but that's the only one in 8 years. So
no, and zero for John. I mean, if you guys are using sparkling bins equipment, right, there's very little risk to your brand because the bin's going to be so easy to be a perfect result. We're not damaging bins. We're working on the street. So the risk is minimal. And that's why Doggy Patrol is great. The risk is much less. If you guys get into power washing, pressure washing, it's not recurring necessarily. It takes longer. It's more dangerous. And there's just so much risk. Pest control, Cade, maybe you could speak quickly, but maybe not as much risk with the chemicals, but now you're in someone's home. So there's risk there. You're sending people in with wild animals that could hurt your technicians, bite them, sting them, cause damage to the home. So, right. So Cade, how do you kind of manage the risk there as you balance the two? You have one very minimal risk industry here in bin cleaning. Now you have pest control, which probably much more insurance, much more risk. Thanks, Brandon.
Anytime you take money from somebody and do something, there's always a risk. I mean, when I look at doggy cleaning, one of the easiest risks one of the risks that's there that people don't think about is you're opening gates every single day. And one guy leaves that gate open and that could change your business for the future. You let somebody's dog out, let it die. Things could change for you. So, I mean, always covering your tracks on what you're doing. This will sound crazy, but all of our guys wear GoPros, and that's something that we've taken where we've integrated technology at a high level where our guys shoot videos on every service to customers. We don't do that in can cleaning. That would be a lot of work. But when it comes to pest control, that's something we do. And the gate thing is huge, is making sure that gate's closed. And we've had multiple times now where the gate doesn't close when, you go to all these people's houses, a lot of people's gates are broken with soil not settling right or whatever it is. Covering ourselves there, obviously having the right insurance and then just fixing what you do. I mean, we've fallen through 3 ceilings with our attic remediation side of the business. It's going to happen. I mean, you're crawling through ceilings, stepping over wires and balancing on joists. It's going to happen. So getting a handyman that's a good handyman out there same day and getting it done. And I've spent countless hours where I personally go out to the customer's house and sit with the handyman while he waits for the paint to dry. So it's definitely just part of any business, but putting things into place to mitigate as much risk as possible. I mean, the trucks, there's a ton of risk when driving those trucks. We've blown through 4 cars on a major highway in Dallas, and gotten sued for a ton of money. When you have the right insurance and you're covering your tracks with dash cams in the trucks, that it's just part of being an owner of a business.
Great insight. Yeah, risk mitigation, man. You hit the nail on the head there. And we're doing that every day. You know, as a business owner, we do that with the brand, with our equipment, with our trucks, with our team. So that's awesome stuff. Guys, we went a half hour over, which is awesome. I'm so glad that we got so much information. If we got any wrap-up questions, let's hit that. Otherwise, I want to respect your time too. We're going to put this, especially if you guys showed up late or couldn't get here for the whole thing. We recorded this. We'll put this on the school community, and we'll also have a lesson. I go through the transcript. We write notes on it. But any final questions while we have everyone in here for anybody in the room?
Not a question, Brandon, but I guess an observation. As you start to grow your fleet, and this is something Jason and I've talked about. I guess about 7-8 years ago, we've installed cameras in all of our trucks, and I can tell you that was a game changer. Cameras in terms of AI cameras, so they're recording the driver, making sure the seatbelt's on, they're not going through a red light, not going through a stop sign, not speeding. So there's a lot of different infractions that we get, and we tied heavily into their quarterly bonus. You can get a nice lump sum, but you have one infraction that goes down to 0. So we hold, and trust me, it's really helped us in terms of our overtime. Keeping our employees honest. It's amazing what these cameras can do nowadays. So that's something I would highly recommend. As you're getting to you're adding 3-4 trucks to your fleet, is making sure you've got cameras in your trucks and keeping your employees.
I'd love to see which brand you use, and I'll get it. Actually, Cade, when I talked to Cade up in Dallas last month, he got me onto Samsara, which is like an AI app on your phone that helps track the driver, making sure they're staying occupied with the road and not their phone and other junk. Samsara has been awesome. Cade, thank you for sharing that with me. John, please shoot me an email or text this week. If you guys can install them, I'll gladly pay for that. Or if you have a recommendation, I definitely want to get a better dash cam than the system we have right now. So I would love to implement that, brother.
Use the tracker.
I guess it was about maybe a year ago, which we also have cameras outside of the trucks as well. So it actually recorded the accident, and our driver even though the driver was deemed responsible by the police officer, was deemed he was not responsible. So it saved a lot of litigation in court. So you want to protect your assets. So I'll send you some information on it. I know Proctor found something that's a little bit more less expensive. Jason doesn't like to spend money.
I spend plenty of money, John.
He's too damn frugal when it comes to these things. No, I'm joking. But in any event, yes, I'll send you some information on it. It's called Third Eye, and it's military grade cameras that record everything that's going on. So yeah, I'll do that for sure.
John, that would be something cool to add to the trucks. I don't know if you thought about that, but I know all of these guys, they need it. And if you could get some package deal where you could lower the rate, I think that would be something pretty cool to add on.
Yeah, so I'll send you, send me your email, Kate. I'm John@sparklingbins.com, and I'll send you, which is pretty cool. I'll be able to send you some emails that you can click on. You can see the actual. So as an infraction occurs, you get an email and you're able to view the entire. I can do live streaming and see what my drivers are doing right now.
Yeah.
But like, for example, we had a driver it was pouring out rain, and all of a sudden I get an infraction. He's passed out in the truck sleeping. I called him up saying, "What the hell are you doing?" He's like, "John, I'm just taking a nap, man. It was pouring out." So these cameras are that intelligent, and I can tell you that once we install them, our overtime was reduced by about 20%. People were leaving here, going to Denny's and spending, an hour having breakfast. All the behavior stopped. So I'll send you some information on that, Cade. It's called Third Eye, and they send a team directly to your, if you want to install it, if you're in Texas, I believe you're in, we'll send a team out there to do the installations right there. And awesome. The actual monthly fees are like $65 for streaming services, which is nothing.
Shoot me that book. I'm definitely interested. And what I'll do, part of what we're trying to do here with the Bin Spot University is like all these little small things are such great tidbits, John. Continue to send these my way because I'll add these. If you have any links or affiliate links, we're going to put them on because I want everyone to, be equipped with the right knowledge, but also the right equipment. So I want that myself. That's something I'll add to the group here this week.
So John, that the third eye stuff, if I can remember, is quite expensive to get installed, right? But the monthly cost is $65.
Yeah, I mean, it's
That's
60
per camera?
I'm sorry?
Per camera?
No. So it's per truck. So $65 per truck. So basically, and it gives you access to live streaming, so you can go in there and see what the hell is going on. And you get infractions for everything. If you're speeding, if you're going outside, so we have a geofence around our route, kind of like MRP does or Jobatory. So if they go outside of our geographic route, we get an email notification, and you're able to click on and see exactly what they're doing. If the truck's idle for more than 15 minutes, so you set up the actual parameters in terms of what you want to be notified about. I can tell you that having it as part of their quarterly incentive, and one infraction, their incentive goes from, could be potentially $1,000 down to zero. It really has changed a lot in terms of the behavior. So I think, Jason, to your point, yeah, it's not. Is it cheap? No, but these are military grade cameras. They're on all the waste hauling trucks. You're looking at about $3,000 for a 3-camera option, $5,000 for a 5-camera option as a one-time. And that includes them sending someone out there for travel and expense to do the installation at your facility. Mm-hmm. So it's about $3,000 for 3 cameras and $5,000 for 5 cameras.
Does the 3-camera give you a view of the back?
Yes, you have one in the back. You've got one that's actually recording the driver. If you have no seatbelt on, you get that's an infraction. And then it's recording where he's driving. Forward. So if you're going through a red light, it detects you've gone through a red light, you've gone through a stop sign. So that's a 3-camera option. And then the 5-camera option has 2 cameras outside of the truck. So all my trucks have the 5-camera option. And that kind of records, like I said, my guy got into an accident, he was deemed responsible, and he was suing the insurance company for a couple $100,000. And with the camera and the video, we were able to prove it wasn't his fault.
Yeah. No, it's a must-have if you've got guys.
And your insurance also, Cade, is going to go down just by having these cameras. Like our insurance in Florida is probably next to California. We're number 1. California is number 2 as far as insurance. So our insurance saving was about 22% we're saving per truck just by having the cameras in there.
Yeah.
What percentage of the time is the camera broke when it's your fault?
I mean, broke. Jason, I don't break down. What are you talking about?
Well, I think it cuts both ways, right? I mean, if it is your fault, it catches it, and if it isn't your fault, it catches it.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean?
Good to have it either way. But no, we do the same thing, John. We get a weekly scorecard from our system, Samsara, and then we pitch that back to our guys, and they get paid actually weekly. All of our bonuses are paid out weekly, that's something that if they're above a 90, which a 90 and below, or 90 and above is like if they went barely over the speed limit, then it docks them down to like a 95. But we look at on a weekly basis, and then they get $25 a week if they're above a 90. And for our can cleaners, they have to stay above 90 or else they're getting removed.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
I like that.
There's certain infractions that if you're going through a red light, guess what? Your bonus is 0. I mean, to your point, Katie, there are times if someone, like for example, we have it set to where if you're driving under 15 miles an hour, you don't need to wear a seatbelt because you're typically in an HOA development, so it's okay. But if you're going 65 miles an hour and you're texting and driving, guess what? Your bonus goes away. So it all kind of ties into that. But even though Third Eye is expensive, it's probably the most sophisticated camera system I've seen on the market.
So if anything happens to that camera, John, is it covered?
Yeah, I mean,
subscription, or do you have to pay for the repairs?
No, I mean it's all covered under the actual subscription. I've never had to replace a camera. Now, what we do get is, like, for example, I got an infraction today, which I'm copied on, but goes to my logistics manager because the camera was dirty. So the guy, especially the camera in the back, so the guys need to clean up. So I was not able. So if there's a camera obstruction because it was dirty, then you get an infraction as well. But we've never broken a camera. And I've had for some reason, people have tried to, have tried to cut the cable off, and they've stolen the camera, which shows those cameras are useless after that. But that's happened a couple of times, and the insurance covered that.
Interesting.
I'm going to definitely add a lesson here. Both I'll use Samsara and Third Eye as our starting points about adding these cameras. Once I get that information from you, John, and with everything we post in the community, take a look at it. I put it up there based on what I've learned. We got so many experts that if you read something you want to add to or change, everything we post, it's usually is not telling you how to do something. It's telling you the options of the ways you can do something and why things make sense.
I can give you the name of the camera company that we use. I mean, it's a very basic entry level thing.
What's the name of that
one? I'll have to email you it. But I mean, the thing that I've experienced with all these camera companies is that all of them want to tie you in to a super long-term agreement. And I got into one of those with a company that was not good. So I'm very gun shy about signing long-term contracts. But this particular one, I think it's $90 for the camera and $30 a month for the service. It gives you the GPS, it gives you the scorecard stuff. I was actually using it today, and I had my phone up to my ear, and it flashed up a red banner, like no phone. And I was eating something, and it flashed up a thing, no, don't eat. So I mean, it has some capabilities. The thing about all the reporting stuff is that there's so much information coming at you. It's hard to sort of differentiate the false alerts. You know what I mean? So then if you don't look at it, that's one thing. And then the other thing to consider is that if you have all this technology and your driver gets involved in an accident and you get subpoenaed, and there's all this information that you ignored or you didn't terminate the employee, then all of a sudden there's another layer of liability right there, right? So it's like, I think the technology is great, but I think you have to implement it in a way that everybody's on the same page, everybody's expectations are clear, and everyone signs off on it. Because I mean, I'd hate to lose a good driver because one infraction or two infractions, even regardless of the size of them, right?
Yeah.
It's like I do with my home security system. I don't have one, but I bought a sticker that says I have one, right? Sometimes
right.
Just having the camera in the car, even if it's off, the drivers think it's on, they're going to do better just by, not knowing when it's on or off or what the deal is. I think that's a great point, though. Yeah, please do email me that, Jason. I'd love to add that and see for myself and to add that to the group for others as well.
See, I have a tracker that I've been using because when I started dog control 18 years ago, they didn't really have dash cams. So I use a company, and they're not a fan of mine, but they work. It's called Links Up, and they're hidden. They're hardwired. So if anybody was to steal the truck or disconnect the camera, it doesn't matter. And it tells me if you're speeding, what time you started the truck idling, how long you're at the stop, the speed, and everything. So then I also have dash camera front and rear, just because, like everybody here, liability. And Cade knows in Dallas, man, they'll sue you for anything. So I've got rear and front, in the trucks. That way, if they, getting something, hey, first thing I'm going to say, are you on the phone? Because you're on the phone. I was just talking to a guy at Car Toys that they have another camera that's just out you can get. It's a couple $100, and then it's all Wi-Fi. It's like a subscription thing. I thought about getting one of those put in one of my trucks just to see how it works, because it's you can look at it from anywhere. So, but I use Links Up Hardwire and I tell them all, hey, you're being tracked, and they're never going to find them. I mean, I know where they are, but yeah, they're hardwired, so they're never going to go bad on you.
That's awesome, man. This was great conversation. Yeah, John, please.
Yeah. So the camera system that we have also has the ability to take pictures. You just press a red button, and there's cameras. If you want to take a picture of a bin I guess your routing software does that too, but it does have the opportunity to take pictures if something is damaged or your bin is full, just in case. So it has a lot. It's probably overkill, but it also has a module which I haven't added on that ties into the truck's computer, and it can tell you when things need to be repaired or replaced.
Yeah, like that. So
Things of that nature. It's more of it's also a fleet management software in terms of the truck maintenance. That's something I haven't delved into, but it's part of an add-on feature for Third Eye.
So John, do you know whether they have, because we write our own software. I mean, if something has the ability to have an open API, I can see that makes the software or the product a whole lot more interesting to me, because we can code in various different things and tie it back to our computer system. So to your point, if if there is a bin that's bad or something, we could maybe capture the video and put it in the client's file.
Yeah.
That's awesome stuff. Yeah, we try to do that with the phones. We got our guys on their iPhones adding notes with pictures of full bins, and but that's great. But hey, let's wrap that up here, guys. I want to respect everyone's time. First and foremost, I want to thank Cade and John coming on today. You guys are part of the group. You're always welcome. And your expertise and anything you can add will always be welcome and appreciated. So thank you guys so much for coming on. Everyone who inputted today, Jason, an expert as always, thank you for coming on. We learned from everyone here today. Thanks for sharing about doggy patrol, because that was very interesting for me, especially. It was great stuff. A lot of people left. We've been here for an hour and 40. So the fact that y'all still are here and still find value really excites me. John, I'm excited to keep this going. We're going to keep this up. Trying to get this with all your new customers. A lot of the new topics we're going to going forward are going to be more focused back on bin cleaning. Today we had Cade, so I wanted to make this the topic. Going forward, it's going to be back to our main competency. In 2 weeks, our next one is going to be on value creation and value perception. That's what marketing is. People oftentimes, there's a misnomer that advertising and marketing are synonyms. They're not. What marketing is increasing value perception and increasing value. So we're going to talk about how we can do both, back specifically for trash bin cleaning, which will be a really awesome topic. That's going to be back to the group only. So if you guys are not part of the Bins by University, guys, for a cup of coffee, it's so many lessons, case studies, posts, videos, and then being part of this every other week, which is the true value. So if you're not part of it already, come join, come check it out. It's a really good time. And then we're gonna get some really cool lessons going forward. Jason, I want to talk to you. One of our upcoming masterminds, I want to talk about optimizing the truck, whether that's with maintenance, whether that's with adding stuff on. John, I'd love for you to hop there as well. Maybe that could be good for you. Just understanding like what things people have done to their trucks, to equipping their trucks, what they have on their trucks. That's going to be another really good one. I'm going to try to work with you, Jason, see if we can make that for an October mastermind. So everyone can, leave with their trucks and trailers equipped and prepped the way that works for you. You've been really crushing that. On the note, this will be on the Bins by University, a synapse of this whole meeting, as well as the video recording. So check it out if you missed something, want to review something that somebody said. And otherwise, I will see you all in 2 weeks. I really appreciate it.
And thanks,
Have a great evening, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, man. Y'all have a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again.